my name is Anna and I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. As many of you might not know, May is Ehlers-Danlos Awareness Month, which I'm very proud of, and I'm doing my best to contribute and spread the awareness of what EDS is and how it is to live with it, because not that many people know about it, not even doctors. That can be a little bit annoying. Not that many people know that if you haven't got EDS in your family, like if no parents or no siblings have the diagnosis, it can be really hard. It can be really hard to get the diagnosis, basically. And I have way too many horror stories from me trying to get to the end what's wrong with me. And I'm gonna share as many of these stories as possible during May and hopefully entertain you at the same time as I am going to educate you. And if there are any future healthcare personnel watching this, please take note. It looks like I'm bleeding from my gum. I probably am. So I'm not gonna bore you with trying to explain to you what EDS is, because that can take anywhere from an hour to 2 days. It's kind of complicated, but one of the biggest symptoms with EDS are muscle pain, chronic fatigue and hypermobility, like this. I've been hypermobile my whole life, but the pain in my muscles, especially in my arms and in my wrists, started when I was about 12 years old. And since I was 12 years old, I have been fighting to get to the end what the problem is. And when I was 14, I figured out that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I know really well that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome since I was about 14 years old, due to the fact that I met this young lady and we compared notes, if you want to, that we were basically having the same problems. So for me it was just a matter of getting the diagnosis and talking to the right doctor. And when I was 16 years old, I met a doctor, because I was still a minor at that time. I was referred to the child section of the hospital. So this type of doctor works with children, and children are, as I said, classified anyone under 20 years old, I believe. And I booked time with her, and I think the first time I met her with my parents, because they had to come, and then I regularly saw her like once or twice a month, trying to figure out what was wrong with me and why I was in so much pain and why I had excessive bleedings and chronic fatigue and so on and so forth. And I remember very especially because I had told her, like, I think it is EDS, and she had told me very clearly, no, it's not EDS, sweetheart. You are not flexible enough, and you are not see-through enough, and you are not in pain enough to have EDS. Like, no darling, you do not have it. So this doctor, she had told me with my parents there that you can come back once or twice a month and we can try to figure out together why you are in pain and why you have problems with your muscles and so on. So I believe it was the first time I was meeting this lady without my parents present. And this doctor, she was very special. She was a very special lady. She had this, like, almost a dominating behavior towards me, and I noticed towards other children. And I don't know if this was something I experienced myself or if this was just a behavior she had towards everybody. But she was very dominant, and she was like, I know more than you. Of course she did. She was a doctor and I'm a high school student. Of course you know more than me, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But I was talking to her and I told her again that I believe it is EDS. I fit every criteria and more. And so I asked her, like, can you please do a diagnostic test on me? Because you do a diagnostic test which is made out of points, and you need to get at least 9 points to be considering having EDS and so on. So I asked her, can you do this on me, please? Can you check if I might have EDS? And she looked me in the eye. And I was sitting in front of her in her office, and she was looking at me directly in the eye and said,
I think you're just making it up.
And I remember looking at her and I was like, no, I'm not making this up. Like, I can't make this up, okay? And I felt so... It felt like I was so small. Because she really pushed me down. She took my experience and told me, no, you are wrong. You are not in pain. You're just looking for attention. Like, how crazy is that? Telling a patient that he or she is just looking for attention. I was about to break down, obviously. I felt like I was disclaimed. I was so small because she was the doctor and I was the patient, and I was trying to convince her that I was in pain, and she thought that I was faking it. And I started crying, and I told her I'm not faking it. Like, why would I do this for attention? I don't get any painkillers anyway, because there aren't any painkillers today that work on me. So why am I faking this? And she eventually came around and said, oh well, I'm gonna send you to a physiologist and he or she is gonna make this test on you. I was like, okay, thank you. So 2 or 3 months later, I got to do this point system test for EDS. And that person was a little bit more sympathetic with me, but she also explained to me that it's very hard to diagnose anyone under 25 years old because flexibility and hypermobility is more usually occurring in younger children than in adults. So when you reach adults or adulthood, if you're still flexible to that degree, then obviously something is wrong. But if you're flexible like that as a child, it might be because you are a child and your muscles and your joints are more soft and more flexible. So she explained to me, like, it's very hard to diagnose someone young, and that you shouldn't be expected, even if you have this, you shouldn't expect to get the diagnosis before you are 25 years old. My doctor got the result and I got back to this lady, and I remember sitting in her office again, sitting in front of her. She looked down at the result, like reading a paper, and like, yeah, I told you, you don't have this. And I said that, well, the physiotherapist thinks I have it, but I can't be diagnosed because I'm too young. And this lady, this doctor, looked at me and like, nah, you don't have it, sweetheart. You don't have it. I think either you're faking it or you're just stressed. And again, she made me feel so small and so insignificant and worthless. And due to my experience with this lady, I did not go and seek help for my problems until I moved to another city after high school and to another part of the country. And even then, when I tried to seek help, I had to go through a lot of bullshit before I could meet someone who actually gave me the diagnosis when I was 19. And now, when I'm more of an adult, even though I'm not an adult, and the very, very terrifying thing is that I am not alone experiencing things like this. A lot of people with EDS are experiencing that the healthcare system is just bullshit. They don't get the help they need. So if you are a child or a teenager or even an adult and a doctor tells you that you don't have the symptoms you have, please do me a favor and switch doctor, because eventually you will find someone who is listening to you. It can take some time, especially if you're a woman, unfortunately, but you will. And as a part of the EDS community, we will take care of you. And I will send you a lot of hugs and kisses through the screen, and I will see you in my next story time. Bye bye.